Hey, Coach Jacques Doucet, WAFB-TV in Baton Rouge. I've heard you say in the past Flau'jae has more joy in her heart than any player you've ever coached. If you can expound upon that. And second, if you can talk about her mother, Kia. She obviously got very emotional. Flau'jae did up here yesterday talking about her mom.
I could describe Flau'jae in so many ways because I get to see her every day and coach her on her good days and her bad days. When I say, as you watch Flau'jae play and you're just a casual fan that has no allegiance to LSU, you watch her and you go, wow, I just like watching her perform. An example of that, maybe the block shot yesterday. She giggled and grinned all the way down the floor. She was so proud at 5'9" that she could get up there and block a 6'7" young lady's shot. The joy in just, she was just like, wow, that's a memory for me. And when you hear her talk, she just is, she just has that joy about her. She has no agendas. She gets very little sleep. You know, that kid's probably up at 5 every morning writing stuff for her career and goes to class and comes to practice and works out.
Coach, one of the great things about so many more eyes on women's basketball is people get to learn about some of the names that women who are in basketball know about. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Lisa Blutter and what she's done for this game, and almost 900 wins in Iowa, and everyone just talks about Caitlin.
Well, coaches don't want the attention. It's all about our players, and that's probably the first thing she would tell you. You don't have those wins without players. I'm not sure where all Lisa has coached in her career, but she's been at Iowa a long time. And we talk about growing the game. Look at their fan base. Lisa I just have much respect for what she does with her players. I think the sign of a great coach is you adapt and you adjust to the personnel. And while each coach has a different style, if you don't adjust and adapt to each team you have, and you become stagnant. And I think the team she has and the things that they do to be successful tells you that she understands and knows the game.
Andrea Adelson, ESPN. Kim, 2 questions just to put a pin on yesterday. The first one is whether you've heard from Corey Close after she issued her statement over retweeting the LA Times story that you mentioned yesterday. And the second one is whether you can use, this is about the game, whether you can use any part of your game plan from last year's championship game as you go ahead and game plan for tomorrow.
I have not heard from Corey Close. Now let me back up a little bit. Guys, I don't know social media. I don't read newspaper articles unless somebody gives it to me. And I was actually in the bed sleeping with my grandson. And my assistant sent this Corey Close apology. I didn't even understand what that was about. So they had to explain that she retweeted something. Is that the right word? Okay. Because I guess she retweeted that article. So that I read it. Second part of your question?
Whether you can use any part of your game plan from last season against Iowa as you game plan now.
Well, each of us are a new team. We're not the same team we were last year, nor are they. But you certainly have some key pieces on each team. And our game plan will not even mention what we did last year because we don't have the same personnel.
Corey Diaz with the USA Today Sports Network in Louisiana. Kim, I guess kind of piggybacking off of that, what have been the biggest differences you've noticed between this year's Iowa team versus last year's Iowa team?
Well, the biggest same is Caitlin Clark. That's the same. The difference is the personnel. The difference is those that were role players last year are now big players, which that's what all coaches hope, is that you respect the process, and when your time arrives, you take advantage of it. They're still going to shoot a lot of threes, but Caitlin Clark is a generational player, and she's not all about threes. She can pass the ball. She can take you off the dribble. Obviously, our focus will be on her, but not solely on her. Caitlin's going to do what she does. You're not going to stop her. You just hope that you can contain her a little bit and make sure that you do your job on the other 4 players.
Hey, Coach. Claire Hanna with TSN here in the front.
Sorry.
When Lisa was speaking last night, she said it's unfortunate that you're meeting this early in the tournament. What are your thoughts on the matchup in the Elite Eight, given that this was the matchup in the national final last year?
This is not to take away from any other team remaining, but I understand her point. We talk about growing the game. Didn't that national championship game have the highest ratings ever in women's basketball? So you're probably going to anticipate this one will too, but it needs to be at the Final Four. And that may be what she's talking about. I'm not going to speak for her, but man, this would be special if it was at the Final Four.
Dan Zakrzewski, Outkick.com. Coach, first of all, happy Easter. The LA Times updated their story and took out the line "dirty debutantes." I just wanted to know, did anyone reach out to you from that organization, offer an apology? And second, do you have any further comment?
I'm going to answer like I did hers at, I don't know what time it is. Y'all have to forgive me. I am old generation. I just don't spend time reading stuff. Maybe an hour and a half ago, I had someone say the LA Times updated, rewrote, did something, and they did it at 10:20 last night or 10 something, and I said, okay, that was the extent of it. So I'm not sure what the rewrite was. I'm not sure if it was an apology. I'm not sure of any of that. But personally, no one has reached out to me, nor do I require that. I don't need all that. I just like to recognize when I feel something was done inappropriately to young people that I get to coach.
Michael Cobble, WBRZ TV. You touched on it a little bit last night. Just the total team effort that it's going to require to win this game. You know, obviously, Anissa and Michaela knocking down jumpers, but the minutes that Del Rosario gave you, what's it going to take in this one?
Well, it's going to take all players that play, and I'm going to give you examples of that. We're not going to have to knock down jumpers to beat Iowa. We're going to have to play good. We're going to have to play hard. We're going to have to defend. We're going to have to get back in transition defense. We have to do a lot of little things to beat them. Haley Van Lith had a heck of a game yesterday, and people don't even realize it. 5 assists, 1 turnover, 3 steals, took a big charge at the end, got her 1 and only rebound at the end. Those things matter when you're a point guard trying to control a game and hang on to a win. And she's got to keep doing that. She'll hit some jumpers. Aaliyah, coming in when Angel got in foul trouble, she has the body to bang. I've been begging her to be a Mack truck and not a Kia. And she was a Mack truck yesterday. She got down in a stance. It was like she was loving that I'm getting to guard somebody that's my size. And she was big for us yesterday. All of them had to do something good yesterday. Not spectacular. You don't have to play out of your mind. Just everybody contribute.
Kim, Nancy Armour from USA Today Sports. When you play a team again in close proximity, is it easier or harder to be the team that has lost?
You talking about I'm speaking like for Iowa. I don't know how to answer that. I remember one year in the NCAA playoffs, we had played Texas A&M 3 times in conference, and we won all 3 of them. They matched us up again in, I think it was an Elite 8 in Dallas, and Texas A&M won. I don't know if it's harder. I don't know if it's easier. I can tell you that competitors kind of flush the past maybe and focus on the job at hand, and it might be a little motivating factor, you know, like if you lost the game to them before, but I can't imagine them being more motivated than my team. I can't imagine that, but I think internally you try to find something that gives you an edge.
Hold it. Right there.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Kim, since yesterday, I was wondering if either you've read the Washington Post story or had your lawyers read it, and if you have any comment on what was in the story.
Want me to take that?
I got it. I hadn't read that trash. I'm not gonna read it. That's why I hired lawyers. The lawyers will review it, and when this season is over, they'll give me a call and say, this is our next step. Reading that stuff. Did I answer all of it? Okay.
Go ahead.
Mitch Northam for the Baltimore Banner. A lot of people like to point out sort of the differences between Caitlin and Angel. They're sort of the superstars of these 2 teams. I'm kind of wondering if you see any similarities between them, you know, in terms of like their competitive fire that they play with.
Heck yeah, you see similarities. You got 2 very talented players that have brought a lot of attention to our sport. They both trash talk. They both make their teammates better. They both have their teammates back. They have elevated our game to where we have people watching that never watched women's basketball before. Yeah, those are tough women.
Michael Cobble again. Just I can't recall whether Lex or Kateri guarded Caitlin last year, but Angel said that Flau'jae got that assignment last year. I was just curious.
Alexis Morris guarded her the majority of the time. Maybe when Poa, if I remember, took 2 charges off of her, Poa came in and guarded her. So we'll probably have a combination of, it's your turn, you go guard her.
I guess just defensively, the improvements that you guys have made in the last month and a half, does it give you confidence in big games?
Yes. We're going to defend. We're going to defend, and you can be very good defensively, and she can still score on you. She's that good.
Go ahead.
Hi, Kim. Mark Singulace from the Albany Times-Union. You talked about Caitlin and Angel both liking to trash talk. Would you like to not see it kind of boil over like it did a little bit at the end of the championship game last year, or is that just part of the kind of competitive fire and all? You know?
I turn on ball games all the time. Was it Luke and Donick the other day? Waved by to Vlade because he didn't draft him. You see that all the time. I don't even, one of the greatest memories I ever have as a former player, won't ever forget it. 1984 Olympics, we're at the RCA Dome. The men's team and the women's team, coached by Bob Knight and Pat Summitt, we're going to get to play against pros. I had front row seats watching Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Bill Walton. The list goes on. Play against our 84 Olympic team, which was Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing. You can go get the list. I was in heaven. The crap that came out of those guys' mouths, I couldn't quit watching. It's sports. It's sports. I mean, have you ever thought, watching games in the NCAA playoffs, how much you could write about a lot of players and the stuff that's come out of their mouths, not just Angel and not just Clark. Anybody else know what I'm talking about? You can do whatever you want if you choose to focus on that. I don't choose to focus on that because you see it all the time. If you turn on and watch pro games, I was a trash talker. I mean, thank God I didn't have all of y'all following me, cameras and everything else. I mean, you're out there, you're trying to get after it. Don't make more out of that than has already been written.
Last one, go ahead.
Reed Darcy with the Advocate in Baton Rouge. Coach, I'm curious, what have you seen from Iowa's role players? Where do they excel, and how do you think you can
the three ball. You better guard the three ball. And they play their roles extremely well. You know, they have such a connection with Clark that when you think you have the three ball covered or the denial, they'll backdoor you. They're going to run. When you look at Iowa, you may not think they get a lot of transition baskets, but they do. Yes, they're a three-ball shooting team, but they do other things. They're good. They're just good. And we're going to have to play extremely, extremely well.